Good afternoon and welcome once again to the Athens Planning Commission meeting. It is Thursday, August 3rd. It's hard to believe it's August already, but it is. It is about 12 o'clock p.m. To begin with, looking up and down the dais, I see that we do have quorum, minus one individual who is excused. Commissioner Austin Phillips would not be here today. And for anyone who wishes to speak to the Commission on Disabilities, if you would raise your right hand and do you solemnly swear that everything you're going to give in terms of testimony today before the Planning Commission is honest and truthful? Thank you. Disposition of the July 6th meeting minutes. Commissioners, you should have all received that in your package.
I looked at it online, and I would like to recommend that we accept the minutes as presented.
Do I have a second? We have a second from Commissioner Bain. Any further discussion, omissions, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor of adopting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The minutes have been adopted. Moving on, cases. We do have a case before the commission today, and that is case 23-02, University of States, PUD, Homestead Court, Affordable Housing Development here in the city of Athens up at University of States. Director Riggs, do you want to give us an update? We have received documents on that PUD, but if you would please kind of walk us through.
Yes, Mayor and members of the commission, thanks. This is a planned unit development, which is a little bit different from the way we do our Title 41 site plan development review and approvals. The purpose of a PUD, as you know, is that if we have a project that we as the city would like to see move forward, we can go through the planned unit development process and vary from the strict interpretation of the code that's set before other types of development. But there are a lot of extra steps that we have to take here. So we'll go to Planning Commission and it'll go to City Council for review and approval as well. This proposal, the proposed development, as you see in my memo, has nonconformities from the code. There's 163 nonconformities to the table of bulk controls, ACC 2310. Those are typically going to be lot size, lot width, setbacks, side yard setbacks, and lot coverage. We also have 6 nonconformities to the total lot coverage. So we have impervious, and then we have total lot coverage as well. And we look at both of those. 6 of these lots don't meet that. 6 lots also require additional deck setback nonconformities. And there are 3 other things. We would look at a nonconformity from the requirements of ACC 2109, 05, and 06 that requires a PUD to have at least 20% common open space. Non-conformity from ACC 2107-05 requiring a street tree plan, and a non-conformity from ACC 2702-04 requiring a stormwater retention. Typically a basin would be what you'd see here, but we would look at waiving those requirements from the strict interpretation of the code.
Thank you, Director Riggs. I'll start with general comments or questions from the commissioners, and then I want to offer opportunity for those who are here today who want to speak on this development.
If I could ask one more question to Director Riggs, sir. There are a couple items at the beginning of your memo that Planning Commission is charged with in approving this and sending on to council, and you know, just for the viewers at home, the things we have to determine in order to approve this are, number 1, that the development can indeed proceed within 2 years of when we say that it's approved. Number 2, that the streets are suitable and adequate to carry the traffic that will be generated by the development. And I think in this case, you know, we're not looking at at a major commercial use or industrial use. And so, I mean, really, that's kind of a non-issue, but that is part of our charge as a commission. Those exceptions from the various requirements in the zoning code and other portions of the city code that the PUD is asking for, and you already spoke to those, and that the existing and proposed utility services will serve the population density that are going in there. And I think a lot of this design has to do with the construction of those utilities, and I think we've talked pretty extensively about how the TIF that was approved in order to support this is actually what's going to offset the cost associated with building those utilities. So I think and some of this is a comment, but did I get all that right? I wanted to make sure.
Yeah, so
that
these are four findings of facts that are required for the PUD process that we typically don't do for our Title 41 site plan approval. So you have to find the affirmative of all those facts as part of this approval process.
Other commissioners?
Well, so there are two things that, as I've been listening to what's going on and doing some investigation, that have me a bit concerned. One is the way the sidewalks are going to be put in. I'm glad we're going to get sidewalks. What I do want to make sure is that those sidewalks are continuous. And so that people can actually walk without having to walk in the street, that live in that community. And so one of my big concerns is making sure we have them and that they're continuous. I don't know if it's going to get all the way to the end of the street or exactly what's going to happen, but I have a bit of a concern about that. The other thing I'm concerned about is the lighting. And I was wondering, as I was up there, every one of the might be everyone, but certainly most mailboxes have a light post on top of them. And that'll help, but there's no proposed, other than that, as you come into the university estates, there's lighting near the bottom, near the commercial area until you get up to the top, and then the lighting is more sporadic. There's lighting at each of the street intersections and but I'm just concerned about having enough light in the community for people to be able to be out and walk and things like that. I guess one of the questions I have, the lights that are a part of the mailboxes, those are all lights, I assume, that are on the homeowner's circuit. So that means they're only on if they don't have an electric eye or something on there, a light sensor, they're only on when they want to turn them on. Not true?
No, they're actually required to be on when dusk is on.
Okay, so,
It's part
okay.
of our restrictions and covenants.
Okay. So there would be light, well, let me ask this question. Are the mailboxes going to, in that community, that this development going to have light poles on them? Some of them.
And let me say before you answer that, if you're going to answer, please go up to the dais. That way whoever's watching today or up to the podium to respond.
These won't have the same kind of mailboxes, will they? I mean, these are-
I don't know.
I will address your question because my name's John Wharton. I'm on the HOA board at University Estates, and it was our hope that the mailbox lights would provide light throughout the development in lieu of the fact that we didn't have street lights. Okay, they don't. Okay, in phase one, the houses are too far apart. The lights are pretty much worthless. In phase two, which is Walnut Court, even though the houses are closer together and there are more mailboxes with lights, they don't. That's why we've actually been in discussions with the city about putting in additional street lights. And actually, I just got off the phone a half an hour ago with somebody from the AEP, and that information has been forwarded to the city about 10 days ago to put in additional street lights all the way up the boulevard at the same distance, pretty much on the lot lines. And this has already been approved by our board to share in the cost with the city because we want street lights. And I would share your concern that as you go back, Homestead Court is going to be even darker than, because there's not going to be a building until you get all the way to the turn. And so if we were relying on mailboxes, there won't be a mailbox for 150 yards. And that's a long way to go without being properly lit. So I would hope that maybe as the city and UE HOA board proceeds with what we're planning to do together, that this would be implemented in this development as well, that the streetlights would be spaced the same distance apart as they are going to be on the boulevard, because it's important.
Are the mailboxes going to be triaged together? Like, you know, if you got 3 units there, you're going to have a post and 3 mailboxes on it, or how's the mail going to be dealt with?
Okay. They'll either do individuals or wall mounts, depending upon what the post office wants.
If I could speak to this
Okay.
specifically, I don't know that we want I mean, the post office can say, you know, oh yeah, we just want to drive by and stick the mail in a box out on the curb. These are so close together. I mean, there's how many units? 43?
43.
I mean, they probably need to have mailboxes up by the door that a postal carrier walks and puts mail like in a denser housing development, as opposed to the more less dense housing development where it's like a rural route. I don't think rural route is what we want here. Otherwise, I mean, you're going to have a post box every 10 feet.
Well, they could be triaged together, 3 units in one building, and then the next 3, you know, have them. But I understand. So what we're saying here then is there probably won't be any mailbox lights
Right.
at all
Right. So we gotta
initially
figure out what to do with the light.
as this thing unfolds. Okay. And what about the sidewalks? Are we, you know, how long will this development take? When would we have continuous sidewalks on that street?
I can speak to that.
Okay.
We built probably 80% of the homes on Walnut Court. And as we built the homes, we filled in between driveway to driveway with the sidewalk. And in this division of it at Homestead, the driveways are going to be so close together, you may find that you have very, very little sidewalk at all,
Yeah.
because it's going to be that tight. So as we build these out, we will fill in the gaps with the sidewalk.
But as you're walking, the driveway will be at the same level of the sidewalk, right? I mean, it won't be going like
Oh,
this.
They'll all be the same
Okay.
level, yes.
And so on the other street, down at the cul-de-sac, there's sidewalk, but it's not continuous. It doesn't tie into anything.
Which street is that, sir?
What's the name of it? Let me look. Walnut Court? Yeah, down at the end. So, you know, I worry that we end up with something like that where, I think that Mr. Wharton had pointed out that a lot of the inquiries so far have been for people tending toward retirement and, so maybe an older clientele. I don't know, hopefully it'll be younger people there too. But I'm just worried about being able to walk up there and do it safely and having the sidewalk.
It would be very difficult to place a sidewalk on a lot where there has yet to be construction.
Right, and I understand that. That's why I was wondering, how long would it take? How long is this, in your best case scenario, how long do you think this is
4
going
or
to?
5 years.
Build it out in 4 or 5 years?
4 to 5 years,
Okay.
yes.
What about, so the lots where the gas line goes across, are they going to build that sidewalk out across that gas line?
We can, yes, we have their permission.
Okay, so that would happen when you build the unit that's on that particular lot, that person's gonna pay for a sidewalk that is 50 feet longer or whatever.
Yeah, we as developers will pay for the sidewalk.
Oh,
That
okay.
won't be an extra charge
But
to
it,
the
yeah, okay,
property
okay,
owner, no.
okay,
That would be real hard to do, the way they're split up.
yeah, okay, okay. Well, that's my concern is, I understand we are giving variances for a lot of different things, and I'm okay with it. I think this is a good project. I'm supportive of the project. Clearly am supportive of it. I think sidewalks are an important component. you know, I look around the community, we have a lot of sidewalks on the Near East Side. The Near East Side, you can walk, you know, from the house to the school, you know, pretty easily on sidewalks. Then you look at the Far East Side, and there's virtually no sidewalks over there. And I live up on Northwood and Briarwood. There are no sidewalks there. It's, you know, and I just think that makes a community and a development so much better. So I really want to push that we make sure we get sidewalks there as this thing finishes out.
I understand. This project is the first of its kind in the city. And we will have challenges. But by talking and working through them, I'm sure we'll get everything fixed the way everyone wants it to be. I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. That's, yeah.
I have a couple other questions. You know, number one of the proposed subdivision nonconformities is the street tree plan. I recognize in front of the properties, there's not room to plant street trees, just because you mentioned the driveways will be so close together in this townhouse type development. Is there an opportunity in the right of way along Broadmoor to attempt to, and you're not going to comply with the street tree requirements, but to at least add some trees on Broadmoor?
Yeah, Andy, I don't see a problem with that. The left side of Broadmoor right now has some very mature white oak trees that are very beautiful. They will stay in place.
Okay.
But as far as the other side, if there's room in the city's right-of-way, but I couldn't tell you, yeah, we can plant a tree on, I don't know, Atlas Ventures or H.
No, absolutely. And I think that really the left side as you're going out is what we would be looking at. And if there's a gap or what have you, at least in an attempt to keep in some semblance of conformance with the street view plan. We know you can't do it in front. And then the other question that came up here recently, you know, part of the development agreement when the city council passed the TIF had to do with universal design and access to the, you know, people being able to get in without having to make steps. And to Commissioner, to their Commissioner's question regarding, you know, older people living in the area, how are can you talk about the steps and getting in and out of these buildings, particularly like the front door and that sort of thing?
Mm-hmm.
There are plans over here as well.
Brett Howard.
Hi, Brett.
They're lot dependent. So the north side of the complex will be relatively flat, so it'll probably be slab. So we'll just go straight in. As far as the cul-de-sac on the left side, that'll be trickier. So we will try to make every effort to get a flat porch and driveway into the house. But as far as the stairs inside,
No, I
you're
understand.
talking about outside.
I'm talking about front door entry, you know, being able to get out of a car, have an older person in a that's mobility impaired, to be able to get into the front door. And I think the goal with the city council subsidizing this development was to get housing stock added that allows for that kind of resident.
I don't think it'll be a problem on most of the lots. A couple of them may be tricky.
Okay.
But we can do it.
We had talked about this, Director Riggs, a little bit ago, and
Yes, sir.
you had made some suggestions about that. Do you have
Yeah,
any?
so one of the things that we looked at in the plans for the proposed 2 and 3 bedroom units, it's interesting that the TIF only talks about 3-bedroom units that need to be more accessible. It doesn't say anything, for some reason, doesn't say anything about 2-bedroom units. But the 3-bedroom units that they have all have a master bedroom on the first floor, all have the kitchen on the first floor, all have at least 36-inch wide entryways, and it's an open floor plan so that it makes it more accessible for people of all abilities. The only thing I saw was that front step. So if you're coming into the porch, you might have to step up to the porch and step up into the house. If the developer could work with the potential buyers to use ramps instead where necessary, that would be an additional help for this accessibility as well.
That would be no problem.
What about the utility rooms? They're all on the second floor. Is it going to be set up so that you can conceivably
The
have?
the three bedrooms there's a utility room that's available on the first floor.
Okay.
And the two bedrooms, we could put a chairlift in on the stairwell.
Yeah.
All those doors will be 36 inches wide as well, or better. So
Thank you. Any questions or comments from anyone else who is here today to speak on this PUD? If you would come forward to the podium and state your name and your address.
Wait a second, you're 11 Walnut Court. One question I have, we talked about traffic and all. I still think 682 is going to be an issue with all the apartments on the other side of the street. And we're going to add 60 more cars or so, 1.5 car townhouse. We're going to get 60 more cars up and down University State. I think turning left out of there is going to become a hassle.
Okay. Thank you.
Warranted. I don't know if it's warranted.
Just state your name and your address.
My name is Jim McDonald, and my address until last week was 120 University Estates Boulevard. So I am a future resident of I forget what it's called now. Woods Edge. I've already purchased it. So all I would ask for is, I sold my home I was a resident of University Estates for 16 years. One of the first houses built in there, so I've been there for a long time. Renting currently, so all I would ask of the city is, whatever speed you can push this through would be greatly appreciated, because I'm anxious to get to my new home, and I have a rental for a short period of time, so any speed you could do would be greatly appreciated. I'm happy with all the plans that they've made. I will make one comment about the mailboxes. My suggestion would be to have a bank of mailboxes for the whole community, similar to what they have where I live now up at the country club, that you go to pick up all your mail. Then you don't have to have it on your door. The post office will be happy with it. You'll make a bank at the entrance or somewhere there that you can put that everybody can pick up their mail. And I would greatly appreciate if the streetlight plan would go all the way back into that community too, because it is dark up there. And as John said, the streetlights in the mailbox is a great idea. It doesn't work. Okay, and they're required to go on. Like he said, they have to be set up that they go on automatically every night, so they go on dawn to dusk. So dusk to dawn, I should say.
Wonderful. Thank
That's
you.
it. Thank you.
Should I have a
Thank you.
response to both of those?
Yeah.
So I do have a response to that, Jim. And if you need a place to stay, we've got a couple vacant offices downstairs. You can sleep there until the house get built. The suggestion about the bank of mailboxes requires some sort of common ownership. And one of the discussion points in our last session had to do with, it's really the goal of these developers to make these a fee simple development, so that these individual parcels that can individually be sold, but there's got to be some sort of governing document that says how residents are responsible to one another for communal property. Like, for instance, we're going to stick a mailbox down here that's going to be either in public right of way or in some sort of communally owned place that then you can go and get your mail. Likewise, access to the back. Is that something that you've sorted out? How exactly you're going to do it? Like in our whole point, I think the last time we talked about, the roof needs repaired in 30 years, what the arrangement is going to be between those various owners of each of those units?
I did not know. As I addressed the last time, I am on the board of the HOA for University Estates. I cannot speak for the board. I can only speak for me as a board member. That I would certainly like to see the HOA extend to them. And we as in our restrictions and covenants, it provides that we can accept adjoining property owners, which we actually just did with Walnut Court when it was initially developed. The thought was that it was already included and found out later that it was not. So those owners petitioned our board to join our HOA, and they did. I would like to see this be encompassed into our HOA so that you do have somebody that enforces the fact that they have to be owner occupied for 5 years, which is a big deal. I've actually received an inquiry just in the last couple of weeks from somebody that, oh, can I buy 2 or 3 and rent them? No, this is not a rental project, okay? If your name's on a deed, you have to live there. That's what I told him. So I'm not worried about selling these, okay? The only reason why it's going to take them 4 or 5 years is because it's going to take them 4 or 5 years to build them, okay? It's just, an HOA, somebody has to enforce what's supposed to be done. And so as far as access to the backyard for mowing, that will only be an issue on the triplexes. And our plan is to have a easement provided on one side of that building for the owner to get into the backyard of their unit. The other issue that was brought up was, what if 20 or 30 years from now the roof needs replaced and, you know, one owner doesn't want to share in the cost? I don't think we need to get involved in that, okay? I mean, we're talking about something 30 years from now that might not ever be an issue, okay? So, you know, that's something that they can settle themselves. But I do agree there needs to be access to the back. And so that's our plan is to have an easement on one of the end units for the middle unit. And the hope is that they will be either establishing their own HOA or petitioning to join ours.
I appreciate the comments, John, and you know, having worked in this community for 20 years, knowing that this guy's office is in charge of everything somebody doesn't like about their neighbor but doesn't want to tell them themselves. So in those situations where two neighbors have a dispute about something, oftentimes the city gets pulled into it, and our answer has to be to them, hey, it's a problem between the two of you guys, fix it, and nobody ever wants to hear that. And so my only point in asking that question is to try to head it off at the front end so that it's recorded in the people's deeds as to what the responsibility is to one another versus, you know, that event eventually happened, and the guy is after he and I, you know, don't get the call that says, hey, my neighbor won't replace the roof and it's leaking into my building. So thank you for that.
So as a past resident and a member of the HOA, I would, and a future resident of the new thing, I would be against this being in the HOA. I don't want to be a part of the University Estates. There's no need for us to be part of that HOA. If it's because of mailboxes, we'll come up with another solution. But one of the reasons I bought that lot, I was interested, not one of the reasons, but I was interested in it because it was told there was going to be no HOA, and that's what I would like to happen. So just wanted to go on the record for that.
I appreciate that, Jim, and I would add, you know, the Planning Commission, our role is to look at the plans and look at the development. HOA or no HOA really isn't something that this body is going to require of any development in the city. I think, as you indicated, John, is that with Walnut Court, it was petitioned by those who live there, and again, if you get 51% or whatever it is, after, it could be 60%, I don't know, that's the way it'll be with being able to enter into. But Jim, this body, you know, the commission's not worried about that. I do want to come back around to the traffic issue. I want you to know that this body, as well as the city administration, is not deaf to what we will likely see on 682. So it is, again, it's not that we're being deaf to it, and knowing that with the Woda Cooper project off of Lorig and 682, with that development as 192 units, this one certainly being a much smaller development, that we will continue to monitor 682. And we can certainly have the ability to make some changes. We already have, in that 682 used to be 45 miles an hour all the way up to the intersection of 682 and 56. But with the annexation of that property into the city and the corp limit extending now out to Boar Ridge, that we did lower it to 35 miles an hour. So we have some levers that we as a community, as an administration, can use as we look at what's going on within that corridor. So again, I just don't want you to think that the city administration nor the planning commission is deaf to your concerns.
Appreciate that, but we know what's gonna happen. I mean, we know there's 190 units going in. We know there's 43. Even today, when a train comes by, it backs up past University Estates. I can't imagine if a train comes by at 4 to 5 o'clock or 8 to 9 or whatever, turning left is going to be an issue. It just is.
Yeah. Well, we have some opportunities with what'll, in the not too distant future, be the 682, 56 roundabout, and so we'll certainly see what else we can do within that corridor. So, again, I just want to have that on the record that the city administration is not deaf to the concerns, and not only your own. We've heard from several other individuals who are also concerned, to include a city council member for the city of Athens. Anyway, any other comments on case 23-02?
Mayor, if I
Riggs?
could just mention that we are trying to get this project moved through as quickly as possible, and in that vein, have all of our staff has not had a chance to adequately look at all the details of the plans. So I would suggest that if we do decide to move forward on this, that we do it contingent upon additional staff comments as we get a chance to review these plans. Thank you.
I think the commission would be willing to take that on, that it is contingent upon your staff diving in deeper to everything. But at this point, in looking at the proposed subdivision nonconformities, certainly your guidance is important on that, but as I look over them, I don't see any issues.
So as we vote to, excuse me, sir, so if we vote to approve, we're approving the proposed subdivision nonconformities, and we're basically validating these four
Correct.
points in the thing. That's what we're voting to approve ultimately.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
All right. Hearing no further discussion, do I have a motion to adopt with the contingency being that Director Riggs and his team looks over this in more detail?
I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of adopting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. It is unanimous.
All right.
All right, the case moves on. Let's see. Zoning, if I'm not mistaken. Here's my agenda. No, it's not. Thank you, Andy. Communications, proposed zoning amendments. We're going to talk a little bit about chickens. Director Riggs, if you'd like to take this on.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We have a lot of communities in Ohio that do allow the keeping of a small number of chickens. The City of Athens code does not allow it at this time. So if the board would be interested in moving forward on allowing up to 4 chickens in residential areas, no roosters. I have some proposed wording in the code that would change to allow up to 4 hens to be permitted in a secure structure in any zone, basically any zone in the city.
So, Director Riggs, I'm looking at this, and so you're removing all foul language in here?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Should we read this for the record, sir?
We should read it for the record. Director Stone, if you would like to.
Sure. So what we proposed, working together on this language, is, and this adds into the permitted accessory uses in R1 zones, the language that female chickens, no roosters, may be kept for personal enjoyment in an outdoor predator-proof structure. No more than 4 chickens may be kept at any time. Any or all other types of fowl shall be considered farm animals, which are prohibited. So this is very specific to chickens, and I think the issue right now is there are provisions that allow for this, so long as it's at least 100 feet distant from any lot line, and so few residential lots in the city currently have that space available that it's it's next to impossible basically for anyone to keep chickens. So this isn't to allow people to have chickens that run around in their yard and get into other people's yards. It's actually inside a coop that's secure from predators, and it's only 4 and no roosters. So that's basically what the change is. And to say one more thing, obviously, City Council has to approve this. This is a zoning change, so this is just a recommendation from Planning Commission to go forward to City Council.
On the back of that, there's a 9.0101, animals at large. Is that that's not our code?
That is our code, sir.
That
Yes.
is our code.
Yeah.
So in there, the fowl will come out of that. Is that what we're also would be approving?
So that's animals at large, and so there's also a nuisance animal code in Title IX, animals at large. No, the chickens of any type would not be allowed at large.
Okay.
They have to be enclosed in a predator-proof structure of some type.
Okay.
So what I was trying to get across was that we do have additional avenues of control for this. So if there are chickens running loose, we have Title IX that says you can't do that.
So you're adding fowl in those locations in that?
It existed.
I think he was
it existed.
He was just
right now,
highlighting
yeah.
it for our benefit.
Okay, fine, okay. Do we, how do we determine whether it's predator-proof structure? Is there some,
If it's not, they won't last very long. As a keeper of chickens who's just
Yeah.
lost several in my own coop that I'm trying to keep it predator proof.
okay. Well, okay, I guess there's, those definitions are everywhere in terms of trying to figure out. and-
Self-policing.
Yes, okay.
Armed guard. Director Bain?
Do you want me to move to adjourn?
No, we're not going to vote on it. It's communication, and
Okay.
we'll bring it up in 2 weeks.
I was wool gathering, sorry.
Okay.
My granddaughter's picture that I had, she was holding a chicken in Pittsburgh, and the other one, we only had 2 at that point, was holding another one. So it was out of the coop.
Okay.
Nothing is secure. But they didn't last long, 1 year.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Bain. So that's, again, that is a communication. It'll come up potentially in the next 2 weeks for the next planning commission meeting as
Who's the
a
last guy? It must be media.
case. Report?
Thank you, Mayor. I did find this week that I got in contact with the developer of the 960 East State Street, the Chipotle and Starbucks. They hadn't moved forward, and I wasn't sure why. They have some proposed changes that they want to make to the site plan. I'm going to look at that, and if those are minor enough that it doesn't really affect any of the approvals that this board's already done, we could go ahead and move forward with that. Without having to come back to the board. If it does look like it's a major change, those plans would need to come back to the board for review. I think that's all I have.
Wonderful.
Steve, are those spelled out in here, potentially, some generalized statement about them? The proposal of,
For which?
Chipotle?
Chipotle, Starbucks?
Yeah, sorry.
I haven't seen anything yet from them, so
Oh, so
I
this
don't know.
is
We've
just
already
fluff.
approved the site plan. They have not moved forward. They've told me that they are making some changes to it. Once I see those, then I'll be able to report back to you.
You have a few interested neighbors.
Yes.
I've been talking to them.
Okay. Opportunity for citizens to speak on things not on the agenda. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the planning commission today? I see a lot of head shaking no. Our next meeting will be on August 17th here in council chambers at 12 o'clock as usual. And with that, can I give a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, vote with your feet. Thank you. That's the end of the planning commission meeting.